Most people don't enjoy doing their taxes every April, and I don't know anyone who enjoys paying taxes every April. But even Jesus seems to be encouraging us in the gospel here to pay our taxes, to give Caesar what he's due. Or does he? Let's take a closer look. When responding to the Pharisees' question, is it lawful to pay the census tax to Caesar or not, Jesus asks for a coin which the Pharisees immediately produce. We need to pay attention here to the fact that the coin they produce is something that they, as Jewish religious leaders, should not have had in their pockets because it bore the graven image of Caesar. And we all know that graven images are forbidden by the Ten Commandments. And here are the Pharisees, the religious leaders, got it right in their pocket. But Jesus doesn't call them out on this, apart from asking whose image is on the coin. Because he knows that what the Pharisees have just done is not being lost on the crowd. Jesus simply says, well, then give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and give to God what belongs to God. So should we first figure out what belongs to Caesar and give the rest to God? Or should we begin by figuring out what belongs to God and give the remainder to Caesar? Which will it be? Just as asking for the coin was kind of a trick question on Jesus' part, perhaps there's some sleight of hand in what he says. Give to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. What belongs to God? Well, there's only one correct answer to that question. Everything belongs to God. And if we ask what is due God, what do we owe God, the answer is a lot more than we generally acknowledge, and much more than we are often willing to give back to God. Can you think of one thing in the universe, one thing on earth, one thing in your home, one thing among all your possessions, one thing in your life that truly belongs to you and not to God? Is there anything you and I have that should God ask us for it, we could legitimately say, oh, sorry, Lord, but that's mine. You have to get your own? No. Every good in our lives is a gift, and every good gift comes from God. Every gift from God is, if you will, on loan to us. Something for us to be grateful for, something to reverence, to use well, to share, to give away. And if you're still trying to come up with something that truly belongs to you and not to God, then keep in mind that life itself, your very being, is a gift from God, on loan to you, on loan to me, a gift to be grateful for, a gift to reverence, to use well, to share, or to give away. So I don't need a W-2 or a 1099 or a 1040 to figure out what belongs to God, what is due God, what I owe God. Everything I have, all my stuff, belongs to God. And I owe God for the whole of it. When we borrow something from a neighbor, a rake, a special pan, tool, a book, a bike, a cup of sugar, we can expect the neighbor might come calling one day to collect what was loaned to us. Well, imagine if we saw the Lord walking up our driveway, coming by to pick up some of the gifts that he had loaned to us. Would we turn off the lights, shush the kids, and stay away from the windows, hoping he'd think we weren't home? If he knocked on the door and surprised us, Would we graciously open up and hand over whatever he came to claim? Would we be embarrassed by how much of his stuff we have? How much of God's stuff we have hoarded? How freely would we let go? How freely do we share the bounty that's ours, that comes from God? And how do we care for the gifts God has loaned us? Have we kept them in good shape, in good working order? Or have we abused or broken or wasted or lost what God has loaned to us? You don't actually have to imagine such scenes, because the Lord is always calling on us to gratefully care for and respect, to use well and to share, to give away to others what's on loan to us from him. This is especially true for any of us who have more than we need. And make no mistake about it, in comparison to much of the world, maybe even most of the world, you and I have a lot more than we need. So if the Lord came by to claim some of what he's given us, most of us would still be left with an abundance of goods, even if we handed over half of what God gave us. It's our tightly held sense of ownership that keeps us from freely sharing and giving away to others, even from our surplus. It's our belief that somehow we are entitled to what we have that leads us to become collectors, even hoarders of our stuff. Even when we've got more stuff than we truly need. Even when we have more stuff than we need, while others go without even the basics of human life. We are just about 2 months away from Christmas. Over the next 60 days, probably some of you have already started, we're going to spend a lot of money on Christmas gifts. And the money we spend is also something on loan to us from God. We will spend hundreds and thousands of dollars buying more stuff for people who already have too much stuff. Stuff for people who may not even really want and often don't need the stuff we're going to give them. And in return, those same folks will give us more stuff and add to the stuff which we already have too much of. And we will do all of that in the name of Jesus to celebrate his birthday. So perhaps the question we really need to ask isn't what belongs to Caesar and what belongs to God. Rather, what do I owe to those in need, since everything I have belongs to God? Everything I have, everything you have belongs to God and is on loan to us. Everything you and I have is a gift to be grateful for, to reverence, to use well, to share, and to give away. When the Pharisees handed Jesus that Roman coin, he asked them, whose image is on this and whose inscription? They answered, Caesar's. Jesus might well ask you and me to hand him something, anything, some of our stuff, something he's loaned us. He might ask, whose image is on this and whose inscription? And whether it's marked or not, we could truthfully reply, everything I have, Lord, bears your image, because everything I have is your gift to me. And everything I have bears your inscription, Lord, because it's all on loan from you to me. Even the cash in my pocket bears the inscription, in God we trust. No one understood this divine economy better than Jesus, who considered everything he had, including his very life, as a gift to be shared, to be given away for others. In the Eucharist, his body is broken for us in the bread, and his blood poured out for us in the cup. In the sacrament of the altar, Jesus shares himself, gives himself away again and again for others, for all, for you and for me. Jesus didn't sit down with some tax forms to figure out how much of himself he was going to give us. In fact, he owed us nothing, but gave his all for us, withholding nothing, though we deserve not a thing. For the record, I'm not suggesting that any of us not pay our taxes. But the gospel of Jesus calls us, each of us and all of us, to ask, of all that is mine, what belongs to God who gave it to me? And how will I be a faithful steward of what God has loaned to me? When the Lord comes knocking to claim some of all he has given us on loan, may we freely and gratefully hand back at least a proper share of all that is his.